Alara Winslow stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror, taking a deep breath as she smoothed down her simple floral dress. The prestigious Harrington estate loomed before her, its elegant gates standing like sentinels against the crisp Boston morning. Her hand instinctively moved to her still flat stomach, a gesture that had become frequent in the past few weeks since discovering she was pregnant. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, the words barely audible over the gentle hum of her car's idle engine. The position of live-in caregiver had seemed like a miracle when her friend from the nursing agency called. Now, facing the sprawling mansion with its manicured gardens, she felt her confidence wavering. Her phone buzzed, another message from Richard. She didn't need to read it. The last month had been an endless stream of apologies and excuses. "I made a mistake. We can work this out. I'll leave her." Each message more hollow than the last, especially since his other girlfriend was also expecting his child. Alara turned off her phone and tucked it into her purse. Today wasn't about her past. It was about her future. The front door opened as she approached, revealing Mrs. Henderson, the house manager she'd spoken with on the phone. The older woman's stern expression softened slightly as she gave Alara a quick once-over. "Right on time, Ms. Winslow. Come in." Mrs. Henderson's efficient movements and pressed uniform spoke of decades managing wealthy households. "Mr. Harrington is in his office, but first, let me explain your primary duties regarding young Master Finley." They walked through the foyer, their footsteps echoing against marble floors. Everything spoke of understated wealth, not ostentatious but unmistakably expensive. Family photos lined one wall, and Alara caught glimpses of a smiling woman with kind eyes holding a smaller version of the boy she'd be caring for. Master Finley's physical therapy exercises are scheduled 3 times daily. He requires assistance, with bathing, dressing, and transfers to and from his wheelchair. The previous caregiver. Mrs. Henderson paused, her lips tightening. She found the emotional demands challenging. Master Finley has been withdrawn since the accident. Alara nodded, already feeling a tug in her heart. "I read his file. 7 is so young to deal with such trauma." "Indeed." Mrs. Henderson stopped outside a door decorated with superhero stickers. "Master Finley, your new caregiver is here." There was no response. Mrs. Henderson opened the door, revealing a spacious bedroom filled with toys that looked untouched. By the window sat a small figure in a wheelchair, staring out at the garden below. "Finn?" Alara kept her voice soft as she approached. "I'm Alara. I brought something for you." The boy didn't turn, but his reflection in the window showed curious blue eyes. Alara reached into her bag and pulled out a small plush dragon wearing a cape. "I heard you like superheroes. This is Drake the Dragon Knight. He might not look tough, but he's actually the bravest dragon in the world. Would you like to know his secret?" A slight turn of the head. "Progress." Alara continued, perching on the window seat where he could see her. Drake was born with wings too small for flying, but instead of giving up, he learned to use his wings in different ways. Now he's the best glider in the kingdom, and he helps other dragons who feel different. Finn's wheelchair moved slightly, turning toward her. His small fingers reached out, hesitating before touching the dragon's soft wing. "Can't fly?" His voice was barely a whisper. Not the way other dragons do. But he found his own way. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is learn new ways to soar. The ghost of a smile touched Finn's lips as he accepted the dragon, holding it carefully in his lap. Alara caught movement in the doorway, a tall figure in an impeccable suit, watching, with unreadable gray-blue eyes. "Mr. Harrington." Mrs. Henderson straightened. "This is Ms. Winslow, the new caregiver." Noah Harrington's presence filled the room, commanding attention without effort. His gaze moved from his son to Alara, assessing, calculating. "Ms. Winslow, your references are impressive. I trust you understand the importance of consistency in Finn's care." "Yes, sir. And please, call me Alara." She met his gaze steadily, despite the flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with her pregnancy. "We'll speak in my office." His tone left no room for discussion. "Mrs. Henderson will show you to your quarters afterward." As he turned to leave, Ilara noticed Finn clutching the dragon tighter, his eyes following his father's departure. The distance between them was palpable, a father and son separated by more than just physical space. "I'll be right back, Finn," Ilara promised. "Maybe when I return, you can help Drake explore his new home?" Another tiny smile, more genuine this time. Ilara followed Noah through the corridor, her heart racing. The job interview had been handled by the agency. This would be her first real conversation with her employer, and she could feel the weight of his scrutiny. Noah's office was exactly what she'd expected. Minimalist, sophisticated, with a wall of windows overlooking the grounds. He took his place behind an imposing desk, gesturing for her to sit. "Your contract details your salary and responsibilities," he began without preamble. "But there are additional expectations. Finn's condition requires emotional stability. If you're planning to leave after a few months, I'm not." Ilara's voice was firm, surprising them both. "Mr. Harrington, I know my presence in your son's life needs to be consistent. I'm committed to helping Finn thrive, not just survive." Something flickered in Noah's expression, surprise perhaps at her directness. "Many have said similar things, Ms. Winslow. Few have managed to connect with him at all. Then they weren't seeing Finn. They were seeing his wheelchair." Ilara leaned forward slightly. "Your son is still a 7-year-old boy who loves superheroes and needs to know it's okay to smile again. I'm here for him. All of him." Noah studied her for a long moment, his fingers drumming once on the desk before stilling. "Mrs. Henderson will review the household schedules with you. Finn's physical therapy cannot be delayed or modified without medical approval. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir." Ilara stood, recognizing the dismissal in his tone. At the door, she paused. "Mr. Harrington, that dragon I gave Finn, it was my comfort object after my father died. Sometimes children need to know they're not alone in their struggles." She closed the door quietly, missing the way Noah's composed facade cracked just for a moment as he looked at the family photo on his desk. In it, his late wife Lauren smiled at the camera, holding a laughing Finn on her lap, while Noah stood, behind them, a hand on each of their shoulders. It felt like a lifetime ago. Down the hall, Ilara pressed a hand to her stomach again, whispering a quiet promise to both her unborn child and her new charge. "We're all going to be okay, somehow." As Mrs. Henderson led her to her new quarters, Ilara caught a glimpse of Finn through his open door. He was holding Drake the Dragon Knight, making him swoop in gentle glides across his lap. For the first time since arriving, she felt certain she'd made the right choice. The garden outside was beginning to bloom, spring flowers pushing through, winter's last remnants. Like those flowers, Ilara thought, sometimes the most beautiful beginnings grew from the coldest seasons of our lives. Her room, she discovered, was a comfortable suite adjacent to Finn's, designed for quick access if he needed her. As she unpacked her modest belongings, Ilara allowed herself to imagine a future here, not just as a caregiver, but as someone who could help heal the fractured pieces of this family's heart, including perhaps her own. Dawn crept through the windows of the Harrington mansion as Ilara fought back another wave of morning sickness. She'd been up since 5 a.m., determined not to let her pregnancy interfere with her duties. Splashing cold water on her face, she caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror, pale but resolute. "Just breathe through it," she whispered, a mantra that had become familiar over the past week at her new job. The ginger tea Mrs. Henderson had mysteriously started leaving outside her door each morning helped, though Ilara wondered if the observant housekeeper had figured out her condition. A small sound from Finn's room snapped her to attention. She'd quickly learned to distinguish his noises, the frustrated sighs during physical therapy, the quiet whimpers from nightmares, and now, the soft rustling that meant he was awake. "Good morning, superhero," Ilara called softly, entering his room. Finn sat in his bed. Drake the Dragon Knight clutched tightly in one arm while he struggled to reach his wheelchair with the other. I can do it, he insisted, though his lower lip trembled with effort. I know you can, Ilara agreed, moving closer but not intervening. But remember what we talked about? Even superheroes have teammates. Finn considered this, his blue eyes serious. Like the Avengers? Exactly. Ilara smiled, noting this was the most he'd spoken in one conversation since she'd arrived. Would you like to be my teammate this morning? A small nod. Progress. Working together, they managed the transfer to his wheelchair, Ilara guiding but letting Finn lead whenever possible. She noticed he'd arranged his other stuffed animals in a semicircle on his bed, something she hadn't seen before. Drake made friends, Finn offered quietly, following her gaze. He's very good at that. Ilara helped him with his morning routine, chatting about Drake's imaginary adventures. You know what I think he'd love? Some fresh air. The garden looks beautiful this morning. Finn's fingers tightened on Drake's wing. Dad doesn't like me going outside much. Not since… well, let's ask him. Ilara kept her voice light, though her heart ached at his hesitation. In fact, I have a special mission in mind if you're interested. Interest flickered across his face. A mission? Every superhero needs a secret headquarters. I thought maybe we could build one in the garden. Nothing too fancy. Just a special place for reading, planning adventures, maybe even having breakfast sometimes. The hope that bloomed in Finn's eyes made her throat tight. Really? Really? But first, breakfast and exercises. Heroes need their strength, right? As they made their way to the kitchen, they passed Noah's office. The door was already open, his voice carrying out as he conducted an early video call. Finn's wheelchair slowed, his eyes seeking his father. Noah glanced up, his expression softening for a fraction of a second before he turned back to his screen. Mrs. Henderson was waiting in the kitchen with Finn's usual breakfast. Plain oatmeal that usually went mostly uneaten. Ilara studied the bowl thoughtfully. Hey Finn, want to help me make something special? Using fruit and a touch of honey, they transformed the oatmeal into a smiling superhero face. For the first time, Ilara heard him laugh, a small, rusty sound that made Mrs. Henderson drop her spatula in surprise. Mrs. Henderson, Ilara ventured, would it be possible to have breakfast in the garden sometimes? I thought fresh air might help with Finn's appetite. The housekeeper hesitated. Mr. Harrington prefers… What do I prefer? Noah's voice came from the doorway, making them all start. He'd shed his suit jacket, his crisp white shirt sleeves, rolled up to his elbows. Something about the casual gesture made Ilara's pulse skip. Ms. Winslow suggested breakfast in the garden, Mrs. Henderson explained. For Master Finley's appetite. Noah's gaze swept over the scene. The superhero oatmeal, Finn's empty spoon hovering halfway to his mouth, Ilara's hopeful expression. The garden isn't properly set up for his wheelchair. Actually, Ilara stood straighter, meeting his eyes. I checked the paths yesterday. The south section near the fountain is perfectly accessible, and I thought, maybe we could create a small reading area there? Something safe and structured, but outdoors. Please, Dad. Finn's voice was so quiet they almost missed it. Drake wants to learn to fly. The silence that followed felt endless. Noah's jaw worked, emotion flickering behind his controlled expression. Finally, he nodded once. I'll have maintenance check the paths, but only with supervision and not when it's too hot or cold. The smile that lit up Finn's face was like sunshine breaking through clouds. Noah turned away quickly, but not before Ilara caught the sheen in his eyes. Thank you, she called after him. He paused in the doorway, not turning around. Just be careful with him. The words seemed to hold multiple meanings. Later that morning, during Finn's physical therapy exercises, Ilara noticed him pushing himself harder than usual. Steady, superhero. Remember what Drake says. Small glides before big flights. But Dad said yes, Finn panted, determined. I want to be strong enough. Ilara helped him stretch his legs, her movements gentle but firm. You're already strong and getting stronger every day. That's why we need to be smart about it, okay? As she worked with him, her mind drifted to her own situation. She'd need to tell them about the pregnancy eventually, probably sooner rather than later. The thought made her stomach clench with anxiety. Would they let her stay? Would Noah see it as a liability? Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Richard again. She ignored it, focusing instead on Finn's exercises. But her ex's persistence was becoming concerning. Last night's message had been different. I'm not letting you go. We're having a baby together. I'll prove I've changed. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Noah stood there watching them work. How is he doing? Making excellent progress, Ilara reported, helping Finn sit up. His core strength is improving and he's showing more initiative. The garden furniture will be delivered tomorrow, Noah said, his eyes on his son. Weather permitting, you can start using it the day after. Finn's face glowed. Can Drake come too? Something shifted in Noah's expression. Pain, remembrance, hope. Drake. The dragon. Yes, he can come. After Noah left, Finn whispered, Dad remembered Drake's name. Of course he did. Ilara smiled, blinking back tears. He cares about everything that matters to you. That evening after Finn was asleep, Ilara sat in her room reviewing his therapy notes. A text lit up her phone. We need to talk. I know where you are. Don't make this difficult. Her hand trembled as she deleted Richard's message. Outside, the garden fountain burbled softly, its sound carrying through her open window. Tomorrow they would take another small step forward. Breakfast in the garden, a new routine, a tiny piece of normal life restored. In the stillness of the massive house, Ilara felt the weight of all their broken pieces. Hers, Finn's, Noah's. But maybe, just maybe, they could help each other heal. Her hand drifted to her stomach, where her own tiny miracle grew. Small, glides before big flights, she whispered, echoing her earlier words to Finn. We'll get there together. Down the hall, Noah stood in his darkened office, staring out at the garden where tomorrow's hopes waited to bloom. On his desk, forgotten, proposals lay scattered around a framed photo of happier times, and in his mind, the sound of his son's laughter echoed, the first he'd heard since the accident that took Lauren away. The mansion settled into night's embrace, its inhabitants each nursing their private dreams and fears. But something had shifted today, as delicate and promising as the first breath of spring. The garden had transformed over the past 2 weeks. What began as a simple breakfast nook near the fountain had evolved into Finn's superhero headquarters, complete with weather-resistant cushions, a small folding table for crafts, and string lights that twinkled in the growing dusk. Ilara stood at her window, watching Noah help Finn practice his wheelchair movements along the smooth stone paths. Her morning sickness had intensified, making it harder to hide her condition. Today's appointment would confirm she was nearly 12 weeks along, and she knew she couldn't delay telling her employers much longer. The thought sent anxiety spiraling through her chest. Try again, son, Noah's voice drifted up from below. Remember what Ms. Winslow taught you about momentum. Finn's determination was visible even from a distance as he attempted to navigate a gentle slope. Drake the Dragon Knight sat proudly in his lap, his wings fluttering in the spring breeze. The sight made Ilara smile despite her nerves. A sharp knock interrupted her thoughts. Ms. Winslow? Mrs. Henderson's usually composed voice held an edge of concern. There's someone at the gate asking for you. He's quite insistent. Ilara's heart stopped. She knew before looking at the security feed who she'd see. Richard stood at the main gate, his familiar BMW parked behind him. Even through the grainy video, she could see the dangerous set of his jaw. He says he's the father of your child, Mrs. Henderson continued quietly. He's demanding to speak with you. The room spun slightly. How did he? I've notified Mr. Harrington. Mrs. Henderson's hand touched her arm gently. He's calling security. Below in the garden, Noah was already moving, his phone to his ear as he positioned himself between Finn and the distant gates. The carefree atmosphere of moments ago had vanished. "Ilara?" Finn's worried voice carried up. "What's happening?" She forced herself to move, hurrying downstairs and out to the garden. "Everything's fine, superhero. Let's go inside and—" "You can't hide from me, Ilara." Richard's shout echoed across the grounds. "That's my baby you're carrying. You think these rich people are going to want you once they know? You think they'll keep a pregnant woman around their precious son?" Finn's eyes widened, his small hands gripping his wheelchair arms. Noah's expression hardened as he stepped forward, his voice carrying deadly calm across the distance. "Remove yourself from my property immediately, or I'll have you arrested. Stay out of this." Richard gripped the gates. "Ilara, baby, please, I've changed. Crystal means nothing to me. I ended things with her. Our baby needs its father." Ilara's legs trembled. The morning sickness chose that moment to surge, and she swallowed hard against it. Noah must have noticed because his hand suddenly gripped her elbow, steadying her. "Mrs. Henderson, please take Finn inside," he commanded softly. "No." Finn's voice was sharp with fear. "I want to stay with Ilara." "It's okay, sweet boy," Ilara managed, though her voice shook. "Remember what Drake says about being brave? Sometimes that means letting others help keep us safe. Go with Mrs. Henderson. I'll be right behind you." Finn clutched Drake tighter, but allowed Mrs. Henderson to wheel him inside. His eyes never left Ilara's face. As soon as Finn was out of earshot, Noah turned to her. "How long?" "Almost 12 weeks, she whispered. "I was going to tell you today after my appointment. I understand if you need to terminate my employment." "Is that what you think of me?" Something flashed in his eyes. "That I'd throw you out because you're pregnant?" Before she could respond, Richard's voice cut through again. "I'll come back every day. You can't keep her from me. That's my family you're hiding." 2 security vehicles pulled up to the gates. Noah's hand hadn't left her elbow, and she was grateful for its steady warmth. "Do you want to press charges?" he asked quietly. "We can have him arrested for trespassing." Ilara watched as security officers approached Richard. He's never been violent before, just manipulative, controlling. He got another woman pregnant at the same time as me, then tried to play us both. "That's not an answer to my question." Noah's voice was gentle, but firm. "I want him gone," she whispered. "I want to feel safe." Noah nodded once, then spoke into his phone. Moments later, Richard was being escorted to his car by security, his protests fading into the distance. Only then did Ilara realize she was shaking. "Sit down before you fall down." Noah guided her to one of the garden chairs. "Mrs. Henderson." The housekeeper appeared instantly. "Sir?" "Tea for Ms. Winslow, and reschedule any meetings I have this afternoon." "Noah, you don't have to." "We need to talk." He cut her off, not unkindly. "About your pregnancy, your safety, and what you need from us going forward. But first you're going to drink tea and breathe." Mrs. Henderson returned with a steaming cup of the same ginger tea she'd been leaving at Ilara's door. The knowing look they shared confirmed Ilara's suspicions that the housekeeper had guessed her condition weeks ago. "Finn is asking for you," Mrs. Henderson added softly. "He's quite upset." "I'll go to him." Ilara started to rise, but Noah's hand on her shoulder kept her seated. "First tea, then we talk, then Finn." His tone brooked no argument. "You're not alone in this anymore, Ilara. Let us help." The simple kindness in his words nearly undid her. She lifted the tea to her lips, hiding the trembling she couldn't quite control. Above them, storm clouds gathered, mirroring the turmoil of the morning. Later, in Noah's office, Ilara sat across from him feeling oddly vulnerable. He'd shed his suit jacket again, a habit she'd noticed he had when difficult conversations loomed. "I won't lose you as Finn's caregiver," he stated firmly. "You've done more for him in 3 weeks than others did in months. We'll adjust your duties as your pregnancy progresses, increase support staff if needed. The job, and your place here, is secure." Relief made her dizzy. Thank you. I promise I won't let this interfere. Stop. Noah leaned forward. You're not just an employee, Ilara. You've become... He paused, seeming to search for words. Important. To this household. To Finn. Your well-being matters to us. The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. Before either could speak again, a small sound drew their attention to the doorway. Finn sat there. Drake clutched to his chest. Is the bad man gone? He asked in a small voice. Ilara opened her arms and Finn wheeled himself to her quickly. Yes, superhero. He's gone. Are you going to leave? No, sweet boy, I'm staying right here. Noah watched them, something unreadable passing across his face. Outside, the threatened storm finally broke, rain pattering against the windows. But, inside in that moment, Ilara felt safer than she had in months. Drake says we protect our team, Finn declared suddenly, his voice stronger. You're our team now. Ilara met Noah's gaze over Finn's head, seeing her own emotions reflected there. Fear, hope, and something else. Something neither of them was ready to name. Yes, Noah said softly, his eyes never leaving hers. We are. And then Drake swooped down from the highest mountain, his small wings working harder than ever before. Ilara's voice carried through the garden as she read to Finn. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across their superhero headquarters, where they'd spent most days since Richard's unwelcome appearance last week. Noah stood at his office window, phone pressed to his ear, attention divided between the security update and the scene below. Finn was laughing, actually laughing, as Ilara acted out Drake's adventure with elaborate hand gestures. Yes, double the patrols, he instructed his head of security. And I want detailed background checks on anyone entering the property, including delivery personnel. He paused, watching Ilara help Finn practice reaching for a glass of water. No, we haven't had further incidents, but I won't risk... A knock interrupted him. Mr. Harrington? Mrs. Henderson entered with a concerned expression. The hospital called. They've had to reschedule Master Finley's quarterly evaluation. The earliest opening is in 3 months. Noah's jaw tightened. These evaluations were crucial for tracking Finn's progress, adjusting his therapy, and assessing any potential for improved mobility. That's unacceptable. Call Dr. Martinez directly. Sir, I did. She's leaving the practice. They're short-staffed and fine. Find another specialist, the best. He turned back to the window, then froze. Ilara was teaching Finn a new exercise, one he hadn't seen before. Instead of the usual rigid physical therapy movements, she had him reaching and stretching as part of what looked like a game. His son was smiling through exercises that usually brought tears. Actually, he said slowly, hold off on that. I want to discuss something with Ms. Winslow first. Later that evening, after Finn was asleep, Noah found Ilara in the garden. She often spent her free time there, something he'd noticed but tried not to think about too deeply. Tonight she was writing in a notebook, her face illuminated by the string lights. Your background check mentioned nursing training, he said without preamble. Specialized pediatric care. Ilara started, quickly closing her notebook. Yes, I was halfway through my pediatric physical therapy certification when... She trailed off, one hand unconsciously moving to her stomach. When Richard happened? She nodded, not meeting his eyes. The mention of her ex's name hung heavy, in the air between them. Noah had doubled security, but they both knew it was only a temporary solution. Finn's specialist is leaving her practice, he continued, sitting across from her. His quarterly evaluation was canceled. I've watched you with him this past month. You've developed techniques I haven't seen before. They're not techniques. Exactly, Ilara said softly. I just try to make the exercises feel less like therapy and more like play. Children heal better when they don't feel broken. Something in her words struck him hard. How many times had he reinforced Finn's sense of loss by treating him like something fragile? Would you consider... He paused, choosing his words carefully. I'd like you to take a more active role in his physical therapy program. Officially, We can arrange for certification completion, whatever you need. Ilara's eyes widened. Noah, that's incredibly generous, but my pregnancy will be accommodated. He leaned forward, surprising himself by taking her hand. I've seen my son laugh more in the past month than in the entire year since we lost Lauren. You've given him back his childhood, Ilara. Let me give you back something too. The garden lights cast a soft glow across her face, highlighting the tears that had formed in her eyes. Noah suddenly realized he was still holding her hand and released it quickly, standing. Think about it, he said, his voice rougher than intended. That's all I ask. Inside, he found Finn awake, sitting in his wheelchair by the window that overlooked the garden. Couldn't sleep, buddy? I had the dream again, Finn whispered. The accident dream. Noah's heart clenched. Want to talk about it? Finn clutched Drake tighter. Mom was there, she told me to be brave, but... His voice cracked. I don't feel brave, Dad. My legs don't work, and I can't make them better, and... Hey! Noah knelt beside the wheelchair, taking his son's small hands in his. Being brave isn't about making everything better. It's about trying even when things are hard. Like those new exercises with Ilara today. I saw you working really hard. She says I'm getting stronger. Finn's voice held a hint of pride. Dad? Do you think Mom would be proud of me? Oh, buddy. Noah pulled him into a careful hug. Mom was always proud of you. And she'd be so happy to see you smiling again. Later that night, unable to sleep, Noah found himself reviewing security footage from the gate incident. He paused on a frame of Richard studying the man who had hurt Ilara. Something about him seemed familiar, tickling the edge of Noah's memory. His phone buzzed. A text from his corporate security team. Background check complete. You need to see this. The attached files revealed what had been nagging at him. Richard Carlton had been involved in multiple harassment cases, all settled, quietly. He'd also recently been fired from his position at a rival tech company for corporate espionage attempts. Noah's blood ran cold as he read further. Richard's recent social media activity showed an obsession with wealth and status. His latest girlfriend, Crystal, had been dumped the day after Richard discovered where Ilara was working. The timing wasn't coincidental. A soft sound drew his attention. Through his open office door, he could see Ilara in the hallway, one hand pressed against the wall for support as another wave of morning sickness hit her. Without thinking, he moved to help. You should be resting, he said softly, supporting her elbow. The baby's extra active tonight, she managed a weak smile. Someone's doing somersaults in there. Noah's free hand twitched, an impulse to reach out quickly suppressed. Have you had your 20-week scan yet? Next week. She straightened slowly. I find out if it's a boy or girl. I'll have Mrs. Henderson clear my schedule. You shouldn't go alone. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. Ilara's eyes met his, surprise and something else flickering in their depths. Noah. Security concerns, he said quickly. Nothing more. But they both knew it was a lie. In his room, Finn finally slept peacefully, Drake tucked under his chin. The dragon's wings seemed to glow in the moonlight streaming through the window, as if protecting his young charge's dreams. And in the garden below, the string lights continued to twinkle, casting patterns that looked almost like stars fallen to earth. Stars that might, just might, be pointing toward a future none of them had dared to imagine. But first, Noah knew, he had to deal with the storm gathering on their horizon. Richard Carlton wasn't just a jealous ex. He was a desperate man with nothing to lose, and he had set his sights on the fragile happiness growing within the Harrington mansion's walls. It's a girl. The words hung in the air of the ultrasound room, accompanied by the strong, steady rhythm of her daughter's heartbeat. Ilara's vision blurred with tears as she stared at the screen, at the tiny profile of the life growing inside her. Noah's hand tightened on the back of her chair. He'd been silent throughout the appointment, a steady presence at her shoulder, but she'd felt his quiet intake of breath at the gender revelation. Would you like some pictures? The technician asked, smiling warmly. Yes, they answered simultaneously, then shared a startled look. Outside the hospital, Noah's security team maintained a discreet perimeter. Richard's increasingly erratic behavior over the past week, hanging around the property's outer boundaries, sending threatening emails to the mansion's public contact address, had put everyone on high alert. A daughter, Ilara whispered as they walked to the car. I'm having a little girl. Noah's expression softened in a way she'd never seen before. Lauren always wanted a daughter, he said quietly, then seemed surprised by his own admission. The drive back to the mansion was filled with a charged silence. Ilara kept touching the ultrasound photos, trying to process the reality of her daughter while sneaking glances at Noah's profile. He'd abandoned his usual suit for the appointment, wearing a casual black sweater that made him look younger, more approachable. Penny, for your thoughts, he finally asked, catching one of her looks. I was just... She hesitated. Thank you for coming today. I know you're busy, and it wasn't really necessary for security. Ilara. His voice was gentle but firm. Stop making excuses for my kindness. Or yours. Before she could respond, his phone rang. Mrs. Henderson's ringtone. Noah put it on speaker. Sir, Master Finley had a fall during his morning exercises. Ilara's heart stopped. Noah's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. How bad? No serious injury, but he's very upset. He's asking for both of you. Both? Noah's eyes flickered to Ilara. His exact words were, I need my dad and Ilara. Mrs. Henderson's voice softened. He won't let anyone else near him. Noah accelerated slightly, his jaw tight. We're 10 minutes out. They found Finn in his room, curled up in his wheelchair with Drake clutched to his chest. His eyes were red from crying, but his face lit up when they entered together. I tried to be strong, he hiccuped. Like Drake. But I fell, and it hurt, and, oh, sweetheart. Ilara knelt beside him, checking him over with gentle hands. Being strong doesn't mean not getting hurt. It means getting back up again. But I couldn't get up. Fresh tears spilled. Not without help. I'll never be normal again. Finn. Noah's voice cracked as he joined them, dropping to one knee. Son, look at me. He waited until Finn's watery eyes met his. Normal is overrated. You're extraordinary. And asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. Ilara's heart squeezed watching them. Noah rarely showed such open emotion, but here he was, raw and real for his son. I have something that might cheer you up, she said softly. Would you like to see a picture of your new friend? Finn sniffled. New friend? Ilara pulled out the ultrasound photos. Remember how I told you I'm going to have a baby? Well, today we found out it's a little girl. She's going to need a brave friend to help show her the ropes when she arrives. Finn studied the picture with intense concentration. She looks like a tiny superhero, he decided. Like Drake, before he learned to glide. Noah made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. You're right, buddy, she does. Can I? Finn hesitated. Can I help name her, since I'll be her friend? Ilara's eyes met Noah's over Finn's head, sharing a moment of pure connection. I'd love that, she whispered. Later that evening, after Finn had fallen asleep exhausted from the day's emotions, Ilara found Noah in the garden. He stood by the fountain, holding something in his hands. Lauren's journal, he said without turning. I've been reading it lately, trying to, I don't know, find answers maybe. Ilara moved to stand beside him, close enough to feel his warmth, but not quite touching. What kind of answers? She wrote about wanting more children, about her hopes for Finn. His voice roughened. About how love isn't a finite resource. It grows to fill whatever space we give it. The string lights reflected in the fountain water, creating dancing patterns that matched Ilara's racing heart. She sounds very wise. She was. Noah finally turned to face her. Ilara, I need to tell you something. About Richard. Her body tensed instinctively. Noah's hand found hers, steadying her. He's been trying to infiltrate my company's security. The harassment showing up here, it's not just about you or the baby. He's using this situation to try to get to me, to my tech. Oh God. Ilara's free hand went to her stomach protectively. This is all my fault. I should leave, keep you and Finn safe. No. Noah's grip tightened. Running isn't the answer. We protect our own here. But I'm not. Yes, you are. His other hand came up to cup her cheek, the touch so gentle it brought fresh tears to her eyes. You and your daughter are part of this family now. Whether you meant to be or not. Whether I meant to let you in or not. A sound from the house made them step apart quickly. Mrs. Henderson stood in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. Master Finley is asking for his bedtime story, she announced. He says Drake can't sleep without it. The moment broken, Ilara stepped back, but Noah caught her hand one more time. We'll figure this out, he promised quietly. All of it. That night, Ilara lay awake, one hand on her growing bump where her daughter moved restlessly. On her nightstand, the ultrasound photo seemed to glow in the moonlight. Beside it sat a list in Finn's careful handwriting. Potential names for his new friend. Down the hall, she could hear Noah's footsteps as he made his usual late-night rounds, checking on Finn, confirming security measures, protecting his family. Their family? The thought should have frightened her. Instead, it felt like coming home. But outside the mansion's walls, storm clouds gathered. Richard's latest email sat in Noah's inbox, its threats veiled in corporate language but clear nonetheless. Everything you love can be taken away. I should know. I've done it before. And in his office, Noah stared at his computer screen, pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. The accident that took Lauren's life and paralyzed Finn hadn't been as random as it appeared. The investigation he'd quietly launched was revealing a pattern of corporate sabotage going back years. Richard Carlton had been nearby the day of the crash. His presence had been written off as coincidence. Noah's hands clenched into fists. Now with Ilara and her unborn daughter in the equation, the stakes were even higher. But this time he wouldn't be caught unprepared. This time, he would protect them all. Lightning split the sky over Boston, illuminating Ilara's room in sharp bursts as she sorted through her growing collection of baby things. Finn had insisted on accompanying her to the store that afternoon, proudly helping select tiny onesies and a stuffed unicorn that he declared would be Drake's special friend. A knock at her door made her jump. Noah stood there, his usual composed, appearance slightly disheveled, tie loosened and hair mussed as if he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. Can we talk? His voice was tight with barely contained emotion. Of course. Ilara gestured to the small sitting area of her suite, concern mounting as she noticed the folder in his hands. Is everything okay? Instead of sitting, Noah paced, the storm outside matching his internal turmoil. I've been investigating Richard, not just his current actions, but his past. His connections. He stopped, turning to face her. Ilara, he worked for Vertex Technologies when Lauren died. The implications took a moment to sink in. The company that's been trying to steal your patents? Yes. But it's more than that. Noah's hands clenched around the folder. The day of the accident, he was there, not at the scene, but nearby. We wrote it off as coincidence, but now, thunder crashed, making them both start. Down the hall, they heard Finn cry out. Go to him, Ilara said quickly. We can talk after. They found Finn sitting up in bed. Drake clutched tightly to his the storm, he whispered. It sounds like that day. Noah moved instantly to his son's side, while Ilara turned on the soft galaxy nightlight they'd installed last week. Stars danced across the ceiling, creating a gentle counterpoint to the storm's violence. Remember what we practiced? Ilara kept her voice soothing as she sat on Finn's other side. When we're scared, we name 5 things we can see. Drake, Finn started, his voice shaky. The stars on the ceiling, Dad's watch, your butterfly necklace, the picture I drew of the baby. The mentioned drawing hung proudly on his wall, 3 stick figures and a smaller one he'd labeled Baby Sister. Though they hadn't officially chosen a name yet, Noah's eyes lingered on it, something raw crossing his expression. Perfect, Alara praised. Now 4 things we can touch. As they worked through the grounding exercise, she felt Noah's gaze on her. When she glanced over, the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. Better? She asked Finn once they'd finished. He nodded, then looked between them hopefully. Can you both stay? Just until I fall asleep? Noah and Alara shared a look over his head. Of course, buddy, Noah said softly. We're not going anywhere. Later, after Finn had drifted off, they retreated to Noah's office. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside, a different kind of tension built. Richard's been watching us, Noah said without preamble, spreading photos across his desk. Not just the house, he's had people following you to appointments, tracking your routines. Alara's hand went protectively to her stomach, where her daughter moved restlessly. Why? If this is about corporate espionage, it's about everything. Noah's voice was raw. Control. Power. Revenge. He ran a hand through his hair again. The accident that killed Lauren and paralyzed Finn. We thought it was a mechanical failure, but I've found evidence of tampering. The room spun slightly. Noah was beside her instantly, guiding her to a chair. Richard wasn't working alone, he continued, kneeling before her. Vertex Technologies has been trying to destroy me for years. Lauren was investigating something before she died. Irregularities in their financial records. She left notes. That's why you've been reading her journal, Alara whispered. Noah nodded, his hands finding hers. I thought I was protecting Finn by keeping him close, limiting his outside activities. But I was just letting them win, letting fear control us. His grip tightened. Until you came. You showed me that living in fear isn't living at all. Noah. Emotion made her voice crack. When you and the baby are involved in my life, you're both at risk, he said roughly. I should tell you to leave, to get as far away as possible. But I can't. His voice dropped to a whisper. The thought of you gone, it terrifies me more than Richard ever could. A particularly loud thunderclap made them both jump, breaking the moment. Noah stood quickly, moving to check the security feeds on his computer. The storm's interfering with the perimeter sensors, he muttered. I should do a physical check. Dad? Finn's voice came from the doorway. He'd managed to wheel himself down the hall, looking small and worried in his pajamas. I heard voices. Is everything okay? Just checking security, buddy. Noah's voice softened automatically. The storm's making things a bit tricky. Like Drake's wings in strong wind? Finn clutched his constant companion closer. Exactly like that. Alara smiled, though her heart was still racing from their interrupted conversation. But what did Drake learn about strong winds? That they make his wings stronger, Finn recited, if he practices. He paused, looking between them with surprising perception for a 7-year-old. Are you talking about the bad man again? The one who's trying to scare us? Noah and Alara exchanged glances. Finally, Noah knelt beside Finn's wheelchair. Yes, son, but I promise you, nothing is going to happen to our family. Not this time. Our family, Finn repeated thoughtfully. That means Alara and the baby too, right? The simple question hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Noah's eyes met Alara's over Finn's head. Yes, he said firmly. They're our family too, which is why we need to be extra careful right now. Can you help me with that? Be my special security deputy? Finn sat, straighter in his wheelchair, a familiar determination crossing his face. Like a superhero mission? Exactly like that. As if in response to the mounting tension, Alara's daughter gave a particularly strong kick. Without thinking, she reached for Finn's hand, placing it on her bump. His eyes widened as he felt the movement. She's saying hello, Alara explained, softly. letting you know she's here too. Noah's hand joined theirs, his larger one covering both. For a moment they were connected, the broken pieces of their lives fitting together in a new pattern, stronger for having been rebuilt. But, outside in the storm's concealing darkness, a figure watched from the shadows of the garden. Richard's rain-soaked form was barely visible, but his expression was clear, cold, calculating, and filled with a twisted kind of triumph. The security system's storm-induced weakness had given him exactly the opening he'd been waiting for. And he knew something they didn't, something that would tear their newfound happiness apart at its fragile seams. In his pocket, his phone buzzed with a message from his contact at Vertex. Proceed as planned. Don't fail us again. The morning after the storm dawned crystal clear, but the peace was shattered by Mrs. Henderson's cry from the garden. The superhero, headquarters had been vandalized, cushions slashed, table overturned, and spray-painted across the fountain wall. She was mine first. Noah found Alara in Finn's room, her face pale but composed as she helped the boy with his morning routine. One look at her expression told him she'd already seen the damage. Mrs. Henderson is having everything cleaned, he said quietly. Security. Footage was compromised by the storm, but we found footprints. He was here, Alara. Inside the grounds. She continued, brushing Finn's hair, her hands steady despite the fear he could see in her eyes. We can't let him win, she whispered. I won't let him destroy this too. Dad? Finn's voice was small. Can we still have breakfast outside? I'm not scared if you and Alara are there. Noah's chest tightened at his son's bravery. Not today, buddy, but I have a better idea. He met Alara's questioning gaze. I think it's time we took back some control, starting with a trip to the rehab center I told you about. Alara's eyes widened. They discussed the prestigious facility that specialized in pediatric spinal cord injuries, but Noah had been hesitant about exposing Finn to the outside world. Really? Finn straightened in his wheelchair. Like a real mission? A very real mission. Noah knelt beside him. Remember how we talked about being brave? This is part of that. And he glanced at Alara. I thought maybe we could stop somewhere else after. There's a store that specializes in nursery furniture. If that's okay. The meaning behind his words hung in the air. They hadn't discussed living arrangements beyond the baby's arrival, but Noah's intention was clear. He wanted them to stay, to make this permanent. Alara's hand trembled as she set down the hairbrush. That sounds perfect. Later, as they prepared to leave, Noah's security team did a thorough sweep of both vehicles in their convoy. Alara watched from the window, one hand resting on her growing bump where her daughter moved restlessly. Ms. Winslow? Mrs. Henderson appeared with a garment bag. Mr. Harrington asked me to give you this, for the appointments. Inside was a beautiful maternity dress in soft blue, perfectly suitable for both a medical facility and an upscale baby boutique. The thoughtfulness of it brought tears to her eyes. He notices everything, doesn't he? She whispered. Mrs. Henderson's expression softened. In all my years here, I've never seen him like this, not even with... She paused. Well, the heart knows what it needs to heal. The rehab center was state-of-the-art, its bright halls filled with children in various stages of therapy. Finn's grip on Drake tightened as they entered, but his eyes were wide with interest. Look, Dad. He pointed to a girl about his age practicing with a walker. She's wearing superhero shoes like mine. The evaluation went better than any of them had dared hope. The specialist praised Alara's adaptive therapy techniques and suggested Finn was a perfect candidate for their innovative treatment program. His core strength has improved remarkably, the doctor noted. Whatever you're doing at home, keep it up. And Finn, I hear you're going to be a big brother of sorts? Finn beamed. Yeah, to a baby sister. She kicks a lot already like she's doing karate. Sounds like she's strong just like her big brother. The pride on Finn's face made Noah reach for Alara's hand without thinking. She interlaced their fingers and neither let go. But their moment of triumph was short-lived. As they left the center, Noah's head of security approached rapidly. "Sir, there's been a breach at the office. Someone accessed the secure servers. They're trying to decrypt Lauren's old files." Noah's hand tightened on Alara's. "Get them to the safe house," he ordered. "Now." "No." Alara's voice was firm. "Running and hiding isn't the answer. You said that yourself. This is different. If they're after Lauren's files, then they're desperate," she finished. "Which means we're close to something. Something in those files must be important." A commotion near their vehicles drew their attention. Richard stood by the rehab center's entrance, his casual pose belied by the tension in his frame. "Hello, darling," he called to Alara. "Beautiful day for a family outing, isn't it? Though I have to say, playing house with a crippled kid isn't quite what I pictured for you." Noah's body went rigid. Finn shrank in his wheelchair, but Alara stepped forward, placing herself between Richard and her family. "You don't get to talk about my son," she said, her voice steel. The word choice wasn't lost on anyone. Richard's face darkened. "Your son? That's Rich. You know what's in those files, don't you? About the accident? About what really happened to his precious mommy?" "Stand down, Carlton." Noah's voice was deadly quiet. "Security is on the way." "Security?" Richard laughed. "Like the rent-a-cops you hired to protect your wife? Fat lot of good they did her. But then you knew that, didn't you, Harrington? You knew someone was targeting your company, but you let her drive that car anyway." The color drained from Noah's face. Behind them, Finn made a small wounded sound. "That's enough." Ilara's shout surprised them all. "You want to hurt people? Fine. But you're not doing it in front of my child." She turned to Noah. "Get Finn to the car. Now." Something in her tone made Noah move despite his obvious desire to confront Richard. As he wheeled Finn away, Richard stepped closer to Alara. "You've got fire, baby. That's what I always loved about you, but you're backing the wrong horse. Harrington's empire is about to crumble. Everything he loves will be destroyed, including you." "No." Alara's hand curled protectively around her bump. "You destroyed enough when you got Lauren killed. You don't get to destroy this family too." Richard's eyes narrowed. "So you do know. Did he tell you everything? About the prototype? About why Lauren really had to die?" Before he could continue, security surrounded him, but the damage was done. In the car, Finn was crying silently, clutching Drake while Noah held him awkwardly, his own face a mask of pain. That evening, after Finn had finally fallen into an exhausted sleep, Alara found Noah in his office, Lauren's journal open before him. "She knew," he said without looking up. "She found evidence that Vertex was stealing our biomedical research that could have helped thousands of people with spinal injuries. She was going to expose them, but I didn't listen when she said she felt like she was being watched. I didn't protect her." Alara moved behind him, placing her hands on his shoulders. "Noah, look at me." When he turned, the anguish in his eyes broke her heart. "You didn't kill Lauren. They did. And now they're trying to destroy everything else you love. Don't let them." "I can't lose anyone else," he whispered. "I can't lose you." The admission hung between them for a heartbeat before Noah stood, pulling her into his arms. Their first real embrace felt like coming home and stepping off a cliff all at once. "We'll fight," Alara promised against his chest. "Together. For Finn, for Lauren's memory, for our family." In his room, Finn stirred, reaching for Drake in the darkness. The dragon's wings caught the moonlight, casting shadows that looked almost like a protective shield over the sleeping boy. And somewhere in the city, Richard made a call. "It's done. They know about Lauren. Proceed with Phase 2. The pieces were set. The final game was about to begin. And this time, more than just corporate secrets hung in the balance. Alara woke to chaos. Security alarms blared through the mansion, and Mrs. Henderson was at her door, face ashen. "Master Finley's gone," The words hit like physical blows. Ilara was moving before conscious thought, one hand on her 7-month pregnant belly as she rushed to Finn's room. Noah was already there, holding Drake the Dragon Knight, which Finn never left behind. The windows intact, doors were locked. Noah's voice was terrifyingly calm. He went willingly. What? Ilara's knees weakened. No, he wouldn't. This was on his pillow. Noah handed her a tablet, its screen displaying a video. Richard's face filled the frame, his smile cold. Hello, Princess. Sorry for the early wake-up call, but your boy wanted to know the truth about his mommy. Don't worry, he's safe, for now. Harrington knows what I want. He has 1 hour to bring Lauren's complete research files to the old Vertex lab. Come alone or start shopping for another wheelchair. The video ended. Ilara gripped the tablet, so hard her knuckles went white. How did he get in? How did he convince Finn to? Because Finn overheard us last night. Noah's voice cracked. In my office. About Lauren's research, about my failure to protect her. He must have contacted Richard somehow, wanting answers. The laptop. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward. The one he uses for his online games. I found it open on his bed. Ilara's mind raced. Richard must have been monitoring it, waiting for a chance. He used Finn's confusion, his pain. She turned to Noah. You can't give him those files. Whatever Lauren found is nothing compared to our son. Noah's use of our made her heart stutter despite the circumstances. I won't lose another person I love to Vertex's greed. Then we do this smart. Ilara straightened, maternal instinct overriding fear. You said Lauren was investigating their biomedical research? The stolen spinal injury protocols? Noah nodded, already reaching for his phone. They've been running illegal trials. Lauren found proof they were falsifying data, endangering patients. Which means they're still doing it. Ilara's hand curved around her belly as her daughter kicked anxiously. The rehabilitation center yesterday. Richard wasn't just following us. He was protecting their current operation. Understanding dawned in Noah's eyes. He turned to his security chief. Get me everything on that facility. Staff records, patient files, funding sources, and contact Detective Morrison. Tell her it's time to move on the evidence we've been gathering. You've been building a case? Ilara asked. Since I found Lauren's hidden files. Noah's hand found hers. I couldn't move until we had proof of current violations, active crimes they can't bury. Sir, the security chief interrupted. Surveillance caught Master Finley being loaded into a black van. They're heading toward the industrial district. The old Vertex lab. Noah's grip tightened. Where Lauren was going the day of the accident. Ilara's breath caught. This isn't just about the files he's recreating that day, trying to break you completely. Not just me. Noah turned to her, his eyes fierce. Us. This family. Everything. We've built. Then let's end this. Together. They moved quickly, Noah's security team coordinating with local police, while Mrs. Henderson established a command center in the mansion. Ilara changed into comfortable clothes, her heart racing, as she felt her daughter's agitated movements. We're coming, baby boy, she whispered, touching Finn's pillow. Hold on. In the hallway, she overheard Noah on the phone. Yes, detective. Full immunity for Carlton's accomplices if they turn on Vertex. Just get my son back. The drive to the lab was tense. Noah's hand rarely left Ilara's, his thumb brushing over her knuckles in a rhythm that matched their daughter's kicks. Lauren would have loved you, he said suddenly. Your strength, your heart. The way you love Finn without reservation. Noah, let me say this, please. His voice roughened. I thought I died with her that day, closed myself off from everything. Except work and basic care for Finn. But you brought us back to life. Both of us. Ilara blinked back tears. You did the same for me. You and Finn, you gave me and my daughter a real family, a home. Then let's make it official. Noah's eyes met hers briefly. When this is over, marry me. The world seemed to stop. What? I love you. The words were simple, powerful. I think I have since that first day watching you with Finn, seeing you fight for him, protect him, love him like your own. You healed parts of us we thought were broken forever. Before Ilara could respond, they arrived at the lab complex. Police units waited silently in the shadows, Detective Morrison nodding to Noah as they approached. We've got the building surrounded, she reported. 4 heat signatures inside, 1 small, presumably your son. Carlton's got 2 armed men with him. He's desperate, Noah said. He knows this is his last chance to destroy everything. Dad, Ilara. Finn's voice carried from the building's speaker system. Don't come in, it's a trap. Richard's laugh followed. Brave kid you've got here, Harrington. Must get it from his mother. Oh, wait, you got her killed, didn't you? Noah started forward, but Ilara grabbed his arm. That's what he wants, to make you reckless. Smart girl, Richard called. Always loved that about you, baby, but you backed the wrong horse. Harrington's whole empire is built on stolen research. His precious spinal injury breakthrough? Vertex developed it first. Lauren found out, so she had to go. And now history repeats itself. Liar! Finn's shout was followed by a scuffle. My dad helps people. He's going to help kids like me walk again. Finn, baby, stay calm, Ilara called. Remember what Drake says about being brave? A pause, then Finn's voice steadier. That being brave means being smart, using your head, not just your heart. That's right, superhero. Ilara stepped forward. Richard, let's talk. Just us. About the baby, about everything. Ilara, no, Noah started. Trust me, she whispered, then louder. You wanted me, Richard? Come get me. The door buzzed open. As Ilara stepped forward, Noah's hand caught hers one last time. I love you too, she breathed. Keep our son safe. Inside the lab was a maze of abandoned equipment and shadows. Ilara followed the lit path, one hand on her stomach, feeling her daughter's strength. She found them in the main lab. Finn sat in his wheelchair, scared but defiant. Drake clutched to his chest. Richard stood behind him, trying to project confidence, but she could see the desperation in his eyes. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? Richard asked. That you could play house with them and I'd just disappear? No. Ilara met his gaze steadily. I knew you'd come. Because you can't stand losing control. Just like you couldn't stand Vertex choosing Lauren's research over yours. He stiffened. What? That's what this is really about, isn't it? Your spinal injury protocol failed. Lauren proved it was dangerous. So you arranged her accident, tried to steal Noah's superior research, but it wasn't enough. Shut up. But his grip on the gun wavered. The police know everything, she continued. About the illegal trials, the falsified data. How many patients did you hurt, Richard? How many families did you destroy trying to prove you were right? A crash from behind made them all jump. One of Richard's men flew through a door, Noah following with cold fury in his eyes. It's over, Carlton. Detective Morrison's voice rang out as police swarmed in. We have your colleagues at the rehab center. They've already started talking. Richard's face contorted. The gun swung toward Noah. No! 3 voices shouted at once. Finn thrust his wheelchair backward, ramming into Richard's legs. Noah lunged forward. And Ilara. Ilara felt the world tilt as pain ripped through her abdomen. The baby? She gasped. Noah. The last thing she saw was Noah's face, wild with fear as darkness claimed her. The last thing she heard was Finn's voice. Mom. Someone help my mom. The hospital corridor seemed endless as Noah paced, his usually immaculate appearance, disheveled, his heart torn between 2 rooms. In one, doctors worked to stabilize Ilara and his unborn daughter. In the other, Finn was being examined for any injuries from his ordeal. Mr. Harrington? Detective Morrison approached, her expression sympathetic but professional. Richard Carlton is in custody. His associates are cooperating fully. Seems they've been waiting for a chance to turn on Vertex. We'll have enough evidence to shut down their illegal operations completely. Noah barely heard her. Through the window, he could see Finn clutching, Drake refusing to let the doctors examine him until he knew about Alara. "Dad!" Finn's voice was thick with tears. "Please, I need to see Mom. I need to tell her I'm sorry." The word Mom hit Noah like a physical blow. He moved to his son's side, kneeling by the wheelchair. "This wasn't your fault, buddy. You were trying to protect our family." "But I trusted him." Finn's lower lip trembled. He said he knew things about Mom, about Lauren Mom. And now Alara Mom is hurt and the baby. "Listen to me." Noah took his son's small hands in his. "Alara is the strongest person we know, right? And your sister is just like her. They're fighters, just like you. Like Drake." Finn held up his constant companion, the dragon's wings seeming to shimmer under the harsh hospital lights. "Exactly like Drake." Noah managed to smile. "Remember what Alara always says about him? Small wings don't mean a small heart," Finn whispered. Then, with a determination that made him look startlingly like his mother, "Dad, when Alara gets better, can we give the baby a middle name, after Lauren Mom?" The question brought unexpected tears to Noah's eyes. I think both your moms would like that very much." A commotion down the hall made them both turn. Mrs. Henderson rushed toward them, her usual composure cracking with emotion. "She's stabilized," she announced, breathlessly. "The doctors managed to stop the premature labor. They're keeping her for observation, but—" She smiled through tears. "Both Alara and the baby are going to be fine." Noah's legs nearly gave out with relief. Finn let out a sob that was half laugh, clutching Drake to his chest. "Can we see her?" they asked simultaneously. Mrs. Henderson's smile widened. "She's asking for her family." The walk to Alara's room felt both eternal and instantaneous. She lay propped up in bed, pale but alert, monitors beeping steadily beside her. One hand rested protectively on her swollen belly. "My boys," she whispered as they entered, her eyes bright with tears. Finn couldn't wheel himself to her side fast enough. "Mom, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to—" "Shh, superhero." Alara reached for him with her free hand. "You were so brave, you helped save us all." "The baby?" Finn asked anxiously. "Is my sister okay?" "Feel for yourself." Alara guided his hand to her belly just as the baby kicked. Finn's face lit up with wonder. "She's saying hello," he declared with certainty. "Drake says she's going to be the strongest baby ever." Noah moved to Alara's other side, his hand finding hers. The simple touch conveyed everything words couldn't. Fear, relief, love, promise. "You asked me something earlier," Alara said softly, her eyes meeting his. "Before everything happened. Did you mean it?" "Every word." Noah's voice was rough, with emotion. "But now I want to do it properly." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box that made Alara gasp. "I've been carrying this for weeks, waiting for the right moment." "Dad?" Finn's eyes widened. "Is that—" "A very important question." Noah opened the box, revealing a stunning yet elegant ring. "Alara Michelle Winslow, you didn't just save my son's life today. You've been saving us since the moment you walked into our home. You taught us that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choice, about love, about finding strength in our broken places." Tears streamed freely down Alara's face as Noah continued. "You showed Finn how to smile again. You showed me how to live again. You're carrying our daughter, but you've been carrying our hearts for so much longer. Will you marry me? Make official what we already know in our souls?" "Yes," Alara whispered through her tears. "Yes to forever with my boys." As Noah slipped the ring onto her finger, Finn wheeled closer. Drake held out hopefully. "Can I be part of forever too?" "Oh, baby." Alara pulled him into a careful hug. "You're the heart of forever. You and your sister both." Noah enveloped them in his arms, mindful of Ilara's monitors and Finn's wheelchair. For a moment, they just held each other, feeling their daughter's movements between them like a Morse code of love and promise. A soft knock interrupted their moment. Detective Morrison stood in the doorway, her expression apologetic but urgent. "I'm sorry, but there's something you need to know. We found Lauren's complete research files in Richard's possession. The detective paused. She had documented everything, including experimental treatments she believed could help spinal cord injuries like Finn's. Noah stiffened, but Finn spoke first, his voice strong despite his tears. "Mom would have wanted to help other kids like me. Both my moms would." Ilara squeezed his hand proudly. "He's right. Lauren's work shouldn't stay hidden. It should help people. Create the miracles she dreamed of. Then that's what we'll do," Noah decided. "Together. As a family." Outside, the hospital window. The sun broke through clouds that had threatened rain all day. Its rays caught Drake's wings, casting rainbow patterns across the room like a blessing. Mrs. Henderson appeared with a tablet showing messages flooding in, colleagues, friends, even strangers offering support after news broke of Richard's arrest and Vertex's crimes. But more touching were the messages from families of children with spinal injuries, sharing hopes that Lauren's research might help their kids too. "See?" Finn pointed to the messages. "More people for our team. Like a whole superhero squad." Ilara laughed softly, then gasped as their daughter kicked particularly hard. "I think she agrees," she smiled, guiding Noah's hand to feel the movement. "Our little warrior princess." "Lauren," Finn said suddenly. "Her middle name should be Lauren, because she's going to be brave and smart and help people just like both my moms." Noah and Ilara shared a look of pure love and understanding. Their family had been forged in loss and pain, but tempered by love into something stronger than steel. "Perfect," Ilara whispered, holding her boys close while their daughter, their little Lauren, danced beneath her heart. "Absolutely. Perfect." 6 months after Richard's arrest, the Harrington Mansion's garden bloomed with new life. White chairs lined the paths where Finn had first learned to maneuver his wheelchair. The fountain, once vandalized with threats, now flowed with crystal clear water strung with fairy lights, and the superhero headquarters had been transformed into a magical ceremony space, draped with flowers and twinkling lights. Ilara stood in her old suite, now a nursery in progress, watching Mrs. Henderson fuss with her wedding dress. The elegant gown had been specially designed to accommodate both her postpartum body and the need to nurse 2-month-old Charlotte Lauren Harrington, who currently slept peacefully in her grandmother's vintage bassinet. "Mom," Finn's excited voice preceded his entrance. He wheeled himself in smoothly, his tuxedo matching the one Noah would wear. Drake the Dragon Knight sported a tiny bow tie clipped to his wing. "Dad's doing that thing where he pretends he's not nervous but keeps fixing his tie." Ilara laughed, kneeling carefully in her dress to straighten Finn's collar. "And how's my best man doing? Ready for your big responsibility?" "Drake and I practiced all week." Finn patted the ring box secured to his wheelchair's arm. "But," his voice dropped to a whisper, "I added something special too. A surprise." Before Ilara could ask, Charlotte stirred, her tiny face scrunching in that familiar way that preceded hunger. Finn wheeled closer to the bassinet, reaching in to touch his sister's hand. "It's okay, Charlie," he said softly, using his special nickname for her. "Mom's getting married to Dad today, but she'll still have time to feed you. Right, Mom?" "Always, my love." Ilara lifted Charlotte, settling into the nursery's rocking chair. As she nursed, she studied her children, her son in his chair, beaming with pride and joy, and her daughter with Lauren's blue eyes and Noah's dark hair. Mrs. Henderson discreetly shooed Finn out to give Ilara privacy, but not before he declared, "This is the best day ever. We're finally all official." After Charlotte was fed and changed into her tiny flower girl dress, though she'd be carried down the aisle by Mrs. Henderson, Ilara had a moment alone. She touched the framed photo on the nursery wall, Lauren smiling with Finn as a baby. "Thank you," she whispered. for trusting me with your boys, for watching over us. Your research is helping so many families now. I hope we're making you proud." A knock at the door revealed Noah, looking devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo, despite his obvious nervousness. "I know it's bad luck," he started. "Since when do we follow normal rules?" Ilara smiled. "Come meet your moment of peace." Noah crossed to where Charlotte dozed in her bassinet, his face softening as he always did when looking at their daughter. She's wearing the bracelet. The delicate gold baby bracelet had been Lauren's, then Finn's. Now it graced Charlotte's tiny wrist, connecting past to present. "Finn's been telling everyone she's a superhero, baby," Noah said, taking Ilara's hand, "because she fought to stay safe when we were in danger." "He's not wrong." Ilara leaned into his embrace. "Our children are the strongest people I know." Speaking of strength, Noah pulled back slightly, his expression growing serious. "The new trials based on Lauren's research? 3 children have shown significant improvement. The protocols she developed combined with our tech. Ilara, we're really helping people." "She knew you would." Ilara touched his cheek. "Lauren chose her champion well, in love and in science." Noah's eyes shimmered. "I have something for you. A wedding gift, but I wanted to give it to you privately." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a legal document, adoption papers, for Finn, ready for her signature. Noah, emotion closed her throat. "He's been your son in every way that matters. I just wanted to make it official, today of all days." Before Ilara could respond, music started playing in the garden below. Noah quickly kissed her cheek. "See you at the altar, my love." The ceremony was everything they'd dreamed and more. Finn proudly wheeled himself down the aisle, Drake holding the rings. Mrs. Henderson carried a cooing Charlotte, who seemed to know this was a special moment. But the real surprise came during the vows. Finn cleared his throat and pulled out a piece of paper. "I have something to say too," he announced. "Drake helped me write it." The guest chuckled softly as Finn read. "A long time ago I was scared and sad. My legs didn't work and I missed my first mom so much. But then Ilara came, and she showed me that different isn't bad. It's just a new way to be brave. She gave me Drake, who taught me that small wings can still help you soar. She gave me Charlie, the best sister ever. But most importantly, she gave me back my dad's smile." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden as Finn continued. "Today isn't just about Dad marrying Mom. It's about our whole family becoming official. Me, Dad, Mom, Charlie, Drake, and Lauren Mom watching from heaven. So here's the rings, but they're not just rings. They're like Drake's wings. Proof that love doesn't have to look normal to be perfect." Noah had to take a moment to compose himself before speaking his vows. "Ilara, you walked into our broken home and showed us that broken things can be rebuilt stronger. You loved my son as your own before you ever carried our daughter. You face every challenge with grace and courage, teaching us all how to soar with the wings we have. I vow to spend my life showing you the same unconditional love you've shown us." Ilara's voice shook as she responded. "Noah, Finn, you weren't broken when I found you. You were waiting for someone to see your strength, your heart, your capacity for joy. I vow to always be that person, to love you both and Charlotte with everything I am, to honor Lauren's memory by helping others through her work, to face whatever comes next together as a family." The reception was a celebration of not just love, but healing. The garden that had seen so much pain now witnessed pure joy. Finn showed off his improving mobility, the new treatments already making small but significant changes. Charlotte was passed from arms to arms, though she clearly preferred her big brother's lap. As evening fell, Noah found Ilara by the fountain. "Happy, Mrs. Harrington?" Deliriously, she leaned into him. "Though I think our daughter is ready for bed. She's doing her sleepy squirm. I'll get her." Noah kissed her softly. "Meet you, in our wing." Their wing of the mansion had been renovated to accommodate their growing family, Charlotte's nursery connected to their suite, with Finn's room nearby. A perfect blend of past and present. Later that night, after the guests had gone and the children were asleep, Noah and Ilara stood in the garden. The string lights created a magical glow, reminiscent of their first almost kiss in this very spot. "Look what Finn gave me," Ilara said, opening her hand. A small dragon charm gleamed in her palm. "To match Drake's wings. He said it's because I taught him how to fly." "You taught us all how to fly." Noah wrapped his arms around her. "Even with broken wings." Above them, stars twinkled like Lauren's blessing. In the distance, Charlotte's soft coos came through the baby monitor, followed by Finn's voice reading her a bedtime story about a brave dragon and his family. "Ready for our next adventure?" Noah asked softly. Ilara smiled, touching the dragon, charm that now hung beside her wedding ring. "With my family, always." The garden settled into peaceful darkness, but the string lights continued to shine, just like the love that had transformed 4 broken hearts into one unshakable whole. 5 years later, "Higher, Daddy," 5-year-old Charlotte Lauren Harrington squealed as Noah pushed her on the garden swing they'd installed next to the old superhero headquarters. Her dark curls caught the summer sunlight, her blue eyes, so like her first mother's, sparkling with joy. "Coming through," Finn called, out navigating his therapeutic walker with growing confidence. At 12, he'd made remarkable progress through the treatment protocols developed from Lauren's research. While he still used his wheelchair for longer distances, his ability to take supported steps was nothing short of miraculous. Ilara watched, from the garden bench, one hand resting on her very pregnant belly. This time they were expecting a boy, a surprise blessing they hadn't planned but welcomed with open hearts. "Mom, watch this," Finn called before taking 5 careful steps without holding the walker's support bars. "That's amazing, superhero." Ilara beamed, remembering the scared 7-year-old who once refused to leave his room. On his shoulder perched Drake the Dragon Knight, somewhat worn from years of love but still sporting his guardian wings. "Charlie, want to see?" Finn called to his sister. She jumped off the swing and ran to him, her small hand fitting perfectly in his as she helped. "Spot him. Their special sibling ritual." "Look what I found in the attic," Noah said, joining Ilara on the bench. He handed her a dusty journal, Lauren's last one. "There's an entry about Finn I never noticed before." Ilara opened to the marked page, reading aloud softly. "My sweet boy has such a capacity for love. Someday he'll heal from whatever comes. Someday he'll find his wings again. I just pray someone will be there to show him how to use them." "She knew," Noah said quietly, watching their children. "Somehow, she knew you'd come. All of us." Ilara corrected, taking his hand. She knew love would find a way. The garden had evolved with their family. The fountain now featured a bronze dragon, commissioned by Noah for their first anniversary. The superhero headquarters had expanded into a therapy space where Finn helped other children learn to navigate their own challenges. The string lights remained, though they'd been joined by Charlotte's addition of paper stars and dragons she'd made herself. "Mommy!" Charlotte ran over, her face serious. "The baby kicked me when I hugged you goodbye this morning." "Is he saying hello or does he not like me?" "Oh, sweet girl." Ilara pulled her close. "Your brother loves you already, just like Finn loved you before you were born. Remember the stories about how he used to read to you?" With Drake helping, Charlotte nodded solemnly. She touched Ilara's belly. "Don't worry, baby brother. I'll teach you all about being brave. I learned from the best." Noah squeezed Ilara's hand as they watched Charlotte run back to spot her brother's walking practice. On the garden wall, framed photographs told their story. Lauren and baby Finn, Ilara and Noah's wedding, Charlotte's birth, Finn's first steps with the walker, and countless moments of everyday joy. "The new treatment center opens next month," Noah said softly. "Lauren's protocols combined with our tech were helping hundreds of families now. And Finn's video diary about his journey has inspired so many kids. Ilara smiled. Our son, the influencer. Speaking of influence, Noah nodded toward where Finn was now showing Charlotte how to make Drake fly in figure-8 patterns. The foundation board voted yesterday. They want Finn to be the youth ambassador for the adaptive sports program. Ilara's eyes filled with tears of pride. He's come so far. We all have. Noah kissed her temple. From broken pieces to the strongest whole, Ilara finished. It had become their family motto, engraved on the inside of their wedding rings. As the sun began to set, their garden filled with the familiar evening rhythm. Charlotte gathering her scattered toys, Finn practicing his evening therapy exercises, Noah checking the security system more from habit than fear now. The ghost of Richard Carlton had long since faded, his attempts to destroy them having only made them stronger. Story time, Charlotte announced, pulling out a familiar book, the published version of Drake the Dragon Knight's Adventures, written by Ilara and illustrated by Finn, now helping children worldwide cope with physical challenges. Once upon a time, Finn began reading to his sister, one hand protectively on Ilara's belly to include their unborn brother. There was a dragon with small wings, but a mighty heart. Ilara leaned into Noah's embrace, watching their miracles unfold. In the distance, a real dragon seemed to soar, just Charlotte's kite catching the wind, but it felt like a sign. Like Lauren's blessing, carried on wings of love through time. Their family had learned that happy endings aren't about perfect healing or forgotten pain. They're about finding strength in the broken places, about choosing love every day, about realizing that sometimes the smallest wings carry the mightiest hearts. And in the Harrington garden, under strings of lights that had witnessed both tears and triumph, love continued to soar. On dragons' wings, on children's laughter, on the endless power of hearts that choose to heal together. The end, if you could give Ilara one piece of advice at the beginning of this story, when she was pregnant, hurt, and afraid to trust love again, what would it be? How would you help her understand that sometimes the most damaged hearts are precisely those destined to form the most beautiful families? Your participation in the channel is very important. Please leave your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below letting us know what you thought. Your feedback and support mean a lot to us. Stay tuned for more exciting stories.